This is the Greentech High Edible Classroom Garden. First site you see here is our lettuce. It's a masculine mix, a sweet lettuce mix, a little bit of spinach, our 2 basil pots, our greenhouse, approximately 6 foot by 8 foot. Inside we're currently growing sweet green peppers as well as chili peppers. Our next pots of basil are also in the works. We have our Meyer lemon tree, as well as 1 window box of oregano, also in the works. Sunflower blossoms drying for harvesting of seeds for the next year. And some more peppers. Stepping out of the garden, we got 2 pots of broccoli, and then our sunflowers. In our first 5 by 5 foot box, we have a row of carrots. 2 different plantings. So this is our older planting with carrots down below, and this is our newer planting, our second batch, but harvested a few weeks later. Next to our carrots, we have shallots, which are starting to split and form bulbs of their own. We'll be able to harvest those in probably a week or 2 time. 3 large plants here are elephant garlic, which are probably also near harvest time, and then we'll split them and replant one of the cloves. The large plants here with the frilly leaves are all yellow squash. The smaller ones, if you can see them, we've got 1 smaller one in here and another behind the yellow squash there, are zucchini or green squash. All of our yellow squash are already blooming with multiple buds, hopefully to have harvest in the next month or so. Our second box, corn. It's the yellow-white mix, currently about knee height. Anticipated harvest probably late summer, August, September. Still got quite a bit of growing to do. Again, we've got multiple stages of development, so some will go before others, giving us prolonged harvest season. Our third box, the small squash plants, are acorn squash. These are a different brand, and so they're going a little bit slower than some of the others. But we are looking at the beginnings of some bulbs for which we can start expecting some sort of product. In the center of this box, we have Swiss chard that was started in the greenhouse, transplanted out of the greenhouse into the plant bed. It's taken root pretty well. Our second box, or our fourth box, we've got lemon basil that we currently sell, as well as dill. Dill's in the middle of blooming, but we are also cutting from that. We have some chives, as well as some rosemary plants as well that are starting to take root. Being a woody herb, the rosemary, will last us a couple of years. We'll keep growing back. This box also contains some of the random lettuce that we had. That's more at this point decorative. And our broccoli. Again, we've got a couple of stages of development here. Our 4 largest plants are all rooting and creating rather significant stalks. We're anticipating harvest possibly in about a month's time. Smaller plants, probably by the end of the summer into the fall. We're going to cut our larger ones once they're done and give room for the smaller ones to grow after that. So again, a multiple harvest season. Our 5th box is our peas. They are doing really well. Most of the plants are blooming or blossoming, and we are having the development of some of the pea pods. This can be seen here. Anticipated that we'll probably get our first product about 2-3 weeks time. Let these peas really develop into some larger sizes, and we'll go from there. That's box number 5. It stands about 5 feet tall. Box number 6 is our pumpkin, cucumber, and yellow squash. These larger plants with the rounded leaves are all pumpkins. You can see multiple blossoms going to happen out of this one, as well as a little gust there. We've got 3 pumpkin plants in this pot. The first I pointed out, second here, and then a third one there. The smaller plants within the center of the box are going to be cucumber, planted in pairs. These are taking a little bit longer to grow. However, we do have some blossoms growing here as well. A couple of them are showing some possibility of providing some fruit. There's another blossom. So again, these are probably going to be midsummer harvest. And then one more large frilly yellow squash plant. Again, we know it's yellow squash because of this shape of the leaf. Box number 7. These are our melons as well as tomatoes. So around the edges here, we're looking at cucumber. Cantaloupe. Not quite ready for blossoming, but they are certainly getting there. Starting to see some evidence of blooming. And then around this edge, we've got our star melon. It's a variety of watermelon, green skin with a yellow speckle to it. We've got that all the way around the edge here. You can see some of that speckling on the leaf itself. And in the middle of the box, we've got our tomatoes. These were also started within the greenhouse in seed trays and were transplanted outside. They are about 4 times the size they were when they went into the ground. We have not seen any significant blossoming yet. However, should be getting there soon. Starting to see some evidence of flowering going on. Box number 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. This is a melons and bean box, or not melons, acorn squash, cucumber, and green squash over here, as well as green beans and sugar snap peas. We've got some regular squash, green squash here, smaller. You can notice the size difference from the yellow squash, as well as some regular acorn squash. We also have some green beans, which are flowering as well. Anticipate getting some of those products maybe in the next month or 2. The larger beans here, growing up the lattice, is going to be our sugar snap peas. We do have a few of those already providing and developing into fruit. It's one of our more mature plants. You can kind of see it getting at work. So our center of this box is going to be our peas and beans. The outer edges are going to be the squash. Our berry row is currently housing our first 3 plants here, which are blackberries. And the blackberry bushes are doing extremely well. We've had a number of fruit produced, and we are just looking to see them mature. Our next set of plants were our blueberries. We did have flowers early in the season, but currently nothing for this go around. We are starting to see some growth, which is what we're looking for, and hoping that these bushes will continue to grow over the next year and 2 and hopefully eventually provide some berries for us. Definitely have some growing to do. The next 2 bushes you can see there are both raspberries, both flowered and are producing fruit, and so not as much as the blackberries, but again, not too bad for first year. The last 2 on this row are going to be our figs. So this is how we plant them. 2 little sticks in the ground. and you'll notice that they are starting to bud and develop into something. A little bit more mature plant is here, and you can see right there tucked away in those leaves is our first little fig. But these are going to take a few years to really get to maturity and start providing. Our trees, and this is probably where I know the least. Our first tree, I believe, is pear, based on the color of the wood, the shape of the leaves. Our next is a peach, followed by, I think, a peach. And then the last one there is also peach. Our back row, I know better. It's gonna be an apple tree standing rather tall there, a plum tree, and then another apple tree. The most recent addition to our garden has been our tomato patch. So we've got 4 varieties of tomatoes: heirloom, best in show, cherry tomato, and beefsteak, all kind of mixed up and strung along our nice little white picket fence. Additional to this box, you can see a couple of small sprouts there. Those are going to be our 500-pound pumpkin seeds, prize-winning pumpkins. And so hopefully they have the space they need to produce as we anticipate. These boxes were a little bit more tricky, had some leaf loss, but if you take a closer look at the stems for most of these, you'll notice that we are seeing new growth along each of those patches. And so we are not really worried anymore. Looks like our tomatoes are gonna pull through and grow some new leaves. They are blossoming, as you can see, kind of out of those couple. So we do anticipate fruit out of these about midsummer as well. Beyond that, the last little bit to our garden is gonna be our freestanding tomatoes. Been selling them throughout the year for about $5 a pot, and we just recently moved them into a larger container. These again are a variety. The smaller ones here were grown in the greenhouse from the get-go, as were these 2 larger ones. The large ones are already bearing fruit, and so you can see our Roma tomatoes here, as well as a few up here. Don't anticipate selling these plants, hoping to get some tomatoes. Our goal is to make our own salsa out of what we've got growing in terms of tomatoes and cilantro, and or not cilantro, parsley, and the other variety of vegetables. But that is our garden. Fairly substantial, with a variety of different plants, vegetables, and flowers. And again, I'd like to thank the Lowe's Toolbox for Education grant, which paid and provided for the bulk of all of these materials and supplies, as well as the Green Tech High Charter School Administration for additional funding to provide for the soil for this site and for allowing us to use the land and providing us with a fence. And it's a sustainable project. We are already starting to make our money back that we can reinvest into the garden based off the sale of various herbs and produce. And so our newest box, the tomato white picket fence, was constructed based off of funds that were raised through the sale of various products from our garden. So again, that's your Green Tech High Edible Garden classroom, and we invite you to come visit anytime you'd like.